I don't recall any interaction with my stepsister Heidi on the day of my stepfather's funeral. Like, um, nothing. And just as like a backstory, I believe that my mother had something to do with the death of my stepfather. And just to go a little further into my knowledge of Heidi, which is very little, about a year, maybe a year and a half prior to my father's death, he was assaulted in a pretty major way at a supper club. And I believe that my mother also, I guess I say alleged, had something to do with that. He ended up in a coma. And I only saw him a handful of times in the hospital. And apparently they had to lie and say I was 12 because 11-year-olds weren't allowed in. I don't know why I know that. I do know I was told that. But anyway, it like to make maybe a difference in how often we visited, like we can't lie about it too much, or I don't know what it was. But anyway, I only saw him a couple of times in the hospital. One of the times was when he was coming out of the coma, and he did address me by name. So I have a very big memory of that, partly because he called my mother by his ex-wife's name. So that's partly why I remember that as well. I don't know if Heidi knew he was in the hospital, if Heidi saw him in the hospital, and you would think that I would have some sort of awareness about that. I also know my mother didn't visit him very often, this man that she loved. And the reason that I know, and someone will go, but you were in school, maybe she was there when you were in school. Maybe. However, like 2 to 3 days after, my stepfather is beaten within an inch of his life and is laying in a coma, my mother and I and his business partner and my aunt were living it up at the Fontainebleau at the cabana that we used to rent. Doesn't sound like somebody who was so concerned about the health and well-being of her husband who was laying in a coma. So I feel like that's another puzzle piece, right? In looking at what the relationship was leading up to the day he actually died. And as a side note, I did message my stepsister on Facebook. I haven't heard back from her yet. I know it goes into requests a lot of times. Yes, I requested her as my friend as well. And I'm going to snail mail a couple of letters to her because I have 2 different mailing addresses. So I will keep everyone posted. And thank you for following along on this journey. Anyone who can help, I would really appreciate any help that you can offer, like medical records, autopsies, things like that. Thank you.